You want to think like a leader. That is not a certificate, a title, or a seat at a meeting table. Thinking like a leader is a way of looking at the world. It changes the questions you ask. It changes what you notice and what you ignore. It changes what you do when things are unclear. If you learn this way of thinking, you will feel steadier in hard times, clearer when choices are messy, and more useful to the people around you. This is not a story about one person. This is a map of reality, simple, practical, and true, that will help young people learn to think like leaders. First, a leader begins with purpose. Purpose is not a slogan or a social media line. Purpose is a quiet, steady reason for doing what you do. It answers the question, why does this matter? When problems come, purpose is the light that stops you from following the loudest or easiest option. To think like a leader, make habit of asking why before you ask how. Ask why for yourself, and ask why for every team or group you join. When purpose is clear, decisions become easier because you can check if a choice moves you closer to that reason or farther away. This habit keeps energy focused. It keeps frustration low. It turns noise into useful signals. Next, a leader sees a situation in parts and as a whole. That is systems thinking. The world is connected. One change makes another change happen. When you learn to trace connections, you stop reacting only to the surface of a problem. For example, a simple rule like finish faster might reduce quality, lower team trust, and create more work later. A leader notices such chains. They think, what causes this? What will this choice create next? This type of thinking asks for causes, not blame. It makes you curious about how things fit together. It helps you avoid quick fixes that break more than they repair. Leaders think ahead, not as fortune tellers, but as planners. They imagine several futures and test choices against them. This is not about being certain, it is about preparing. When you imagine how a decision could play out in months or years, you see risks and benefits that are invisible in a single meeting. Thinking ahead also means imagining how people will feel and what they will need. It means asking, if this goes well, what will change? If it goes badly, what will break? That thinking reduces surprises and builds steady progress. Clarity of thought matters more than cleverness. Simple, clear thinking wins over flashy complexity. A leader trains the mind to explain ideas in short sentences. If you cannot explain something in plain language, you probably do not understand it well enough. This is not schoolwork. It is the skill of making ideas shareable so others can act on them. When thinking is clear, people follow. When thinking is tangled, they hesitate. Leaders accept responsibility. That does not mean they carry every task. It means they own the outcome. If good things happen, they share the credit. If things fail, they ask what they could do differently. Responsibility sharpens thinking. It moves you from pointing fingers to solving problems. Feeling responsible also builds trust with others. People want to work with those who take the outcome seriously. Thinking like a leader means managing emotion. Emotions are real and useful, but they can cloud judgment if they lead. A leader notices emotions without letting them control the decision. This is not becoming cold. It is learning to feel and act in balance. When anger or panic rises, a leader slows down, names the feeling, and chooses the next step. When joy or success arrives, a leader takes a moment to celebrate and then asks what comes next. Emotional control helps you make decisions you will not regret. A leader learns from feedback. Feedback is not only praise or criticism, it is information. Good leaders ask for it. They look for it even when it is uncomfortable. Why? Because feedback tells you what you do not yet see. It shows blind spots. Thinking like a leader includes building channels for honest feedback and then using that information to adjust. That action closes gaps between intention and reality. It creates continuous improvement. Curiosity is a leader's engine. Instead of stopping at the first answer, a leader asks more questions. Why did this happen? What else could affect it? Who else knows something useful? Curiosity opens new paths. It keeps thinking fresh. It prevents old habits from becoming blind rules. When you lead with curiosity, you invite others to contribute knowledge and ideas. Teams become smarter than any single person. Humility matters. This might sound strange in a guide about leadership, but humility and leadership go together. Humility is the ability to say, "I do not know," and then find out. It is the willingness to be corrected. A humble leader knows that the world is bigger than their own view. This kind of thinking attracts honesty from others. People feel safe to speak up. Ideas get tested harder and become stronger. Humility also keeps a leader learning because it removes the need to always be right. Decision-making is a skill to practice. Leaders rarely get perfect information. They must choose under uncertainty. The way they decide often matters more than the outcome. Good leaders use a few steady methods. They gather the most useful facts first. They talk to the people who will act on the decision. They consider both short-term needs and long-term effects. Then they pick an option that fits the purpose and move. If new information appears, they adjust. That loop, decide, act, learn, adjust, is the core of leadership thinking. Leaders think in priorities, not tasks. Every day offers a long to-do list, but not everything deserves equal attention. Thinking like a leader is deciding what matters most and protecting time for that work. It is the discipline of saying no to good things so you can say yes to the most important things. That discipline creates leverage because one clear priority moved well can be worth more than many small wins scattered across weak goals. Leaders see the human side of every issue. A problem with numbers is usually also a problem with people. Teams have energy, history, and fear. Customers have needs and expectations. Stakeholders have pressure. When you think like a leader, you ask about people. Who benefits? Who loses? Who needs to know? Who will act? Human questions guide practical choices. They help you design solutions that people will actually use and support. Communication is not only speaking well, it's making sure the idea lands where it needs to land. A leader practices explaining the same idea in different ways for different listeners. Plain words for teams, vision for supporters, short facts for decision makers. Clear communication reduces confusion and builds momentum. Leaders also practice listening as part of communication. Listening is not waiting to speak. It's trying to understand the other person's true concern. When you listen well, your response fits the real problem instead of the imagined one. Leaders protect time and attention. Attention is a resource. Interruptions, endless messages, and reactive work steal it. When you think like a leader, you organize your day so that deep, important thinking has space. You block time for complex work and for rest. You set boundaries so others know when to expect your best. Protecting attention increases the quality of decisions and strengthens presence with people. Courage is central. Thinking like a leader asks for small acts of courage every day. Sometimes courage is speaking a hard truth. Sometimes it is choosing a long-term path in the face of short-term pressure. Courage is not absence of fear. It is action despite fear. When you practice this habit, your courage grows, and so does your capacity to take on bigger challenges. Integrity steers choices. When the world offers easy shortcuts that damage trust, a leader refuses. Integrity is more than being honest in words. It is aligning actions with values consistently. People can forgive mistakes, but they cannot accept broken trust easily. Thinking like a leader means imagining how each decision affects credibility. If trust goes down, influence collapses. If trust stays strong, even difficult moves can be made and later explained. Leaders create the conditions for others to succeed. This is not about doing more themselves. It means setting clear goals, removing obstacles, and building systems where work flows. When you think like a leader, you focus on structures, not only tasks. You ask, what in the environment helps people give their best? What friction slows progress? Then you fix the system. This multiplier effect makes leadership powerful. One person who makes the system better helps many people perform better. Learning is a continuous practice. The leader's mind is like a workshop, always fixing, testing, and improving. Mistakes are data. Wins are lessons. A learning mindset keeps you adaptable when the world changes. To develop this habit, build routines for reflection and study. After a project finishes, take time to ask, what worked? What failed? What will you change next time? Small, repeated learning cycles compound into real improvement. Balance thinking and doing. Leaders must think clearly and act quickly. Neither alone is enough. Too much thinking leads to paralysis. Too much action without thought leads to wasted energy. The skill is to use enough thinking to make a useful decision, then act, and then refine. This rhythm, think, act, learn, is the practical path forward. Influence is different from authority. Authority tells, influence persuades. Leaders want influence because influence travels farther and lasts longer than commands. Influence begins with credibility and consistency. It grows when people see you acting on the values you speak about. To think like a leader is to consider how language, timing, and trust will affect your ability to persuade. Influence also respects other people's autonomy. It invites participation, not compliance. Leaders pay attention to timing. Even good ideas can fail if released at the wrong moment. Timing includes reading the mood of a team, the financial reality of an organization, or the readiness of external partners. When you think like a leader, you test the timing of your moves and plan small steps to create readiness. This pacing increases the chance that a good idea becomes real. Leaders design for resilience. Reality will always surprise you. Systems break, people leave, conditions change. Resilience is planning for that reality. It includes building buffers, cross-training teams, and keeping options open. It is not about fearing problems, but accepting they will come and preparing so that recovery is fast. Resilient thinking reduces panic and preserves long-term progress. Thinking like a leader requires clear boundaries. Boundaries protect health, focus, and fairness. They are the rules that keep work sustainable. Setting a boundary might mean limiting work hours, defining decision authority, or clarifying acceptable behavior. Boundaries are not walls, they are rails that let people run faster together without crashing. Leaders practice empathy, the ability to understand how another person experiences the world. Empathy is not agreement, it is understanding. When you think with empathy, you can craft solutions that meet real needs. Empathy also makes communication more persuasive because people feel heard. This soft skill directly strengthens the hard results. Leaders invest in relationships. No one builds anything alone. Relationships are the channels through which support, truth, and energy flow. A leader nurtures these connections with honest conversations, mutual respect, and reliability. When you think like a leader, you plan for the long-term health of these ties. You check in, give credit, and protect people from unnecessary pressure. Strong relationships make teams durable. Leaders avoid perfection. Waiting for perfect conditions is a trap. Perfectionism delays learning and wastes time. A leader decides the minimum valuable step and moves. That step should create real feedback. If it works, build on it. If it fails, learn quickly. This cycle wins because it values movement and adaptation over the illusion of perfect first attempts. Leaders are clear about trade-offs. Every choice gives up something. Thinking like a leader means naming what you will sacrifice to gain something else. When trade-offs are named openly, teams align faster. People accept limitations when they understand the reasoning behind them. This clarity reduces hidden resentments and builds shared commitment. When trade-offs are named openly, teams align faster. People accept limitations when they understand the reasoning behind them. This clarity reduces hidden resentments and builds shared commitment. Leaders practice fairness. Fairness is not always equal treatment. It is treatment that fits need and contribution in a clear way. A fair leader listens before judging, sets consistent expectations, and corrects mistakes transparently. Fairness builds trust and reduces conflict because people understand the rules and see them applied. Leaders keep a long view on reputation. Reputation is the shadow of your past actions. It takes time to build and little to lose. Thinking like a leader means acting in ways that will build a reputation you and your team will be proud of. This long view tempers short-term temptations that damage credibility. Leaders respect complexity, but seek simplicity where possible. Complexity is real. It matters to notice it. But unnecessary complexity hides action. A leader simplifies the problem into the smallest pieces that can be acted on while keeping the essential parts. Simplicity makes communication clearer and action faster. Leaders cultivate the habit of reflection. Reflection is a quiet practice of reviewing choices and their effects. It is not self-blame. It is honest accounting. Reflection deepens wisdom. It turns experience into knowledge instead of letting it pass. A leader schedules reflection even when busy. These small pauses compound into better judgment. Leaders use questions more than answers. A leader asks questions that invite thought. What is the real problem? Who is missing from this conversation? What would happen if we did the opposite? Questions open minds. They invite ownership and new ideas. When you think like a leader, your questions are tools to create better solutions with others. leaders create small experiments. Instead of betting everything on one big plan, they test with small steps. Experiments reduce risk and create learning. They also build evidence that can persuade others. Thinking like a leader prefers quick tests to long debates when possible. This habit speeds progress and builds confidence in the direction you choose. Leaders match ambition with patience. Big change takes time. A leader keeps the ambition high, but structures progress into achievable stages. This balance prevents burnout and keeps teams motivated. When you think like a leader, you pursue big goals with steady, accountable steps. Finally, leaders do the inner work. Thinking like a leader requires self-knowledge. You must know what makes you react, what drains you, and what lifts you. Knowing your limits helps you build teams that complement you. Knowing your strengths helps you lean into what you do best. This inner work is not a luxury. It is a leadership tool. It makes your choices clearer and your presence stronger. Thinking like a leader is not a script. It is a set of habits and attitudes you practice until they become natural. Start small. Begin by asking why more often. Notice how your decisions change. Practice listening with curiosity. Make one small experiment and learn from it. Protect an hour of deep work. Name a trade-off out loud. These small steps compound. When you think this way, you will notice a shift. You will handle pressure with clearer intent. You will make choices that hold up to time. You will move people by inviting them rather than ordering them. You will grow credibility and reduce chaos. You will build a life and work that match your purpose. This thinking is for anyone who wants to lead in a club, a project, a team, or a community. It is not a promise of easy success. It is a path that makes hard work smarter and more sustainable. It will challenge you to change habits, to face uncomfortable truths, and to ask better questions. But it will also give you tools to make a real difference. Remember, the world does not need perfect leaders. It needs steady thinkers who act with purpose, learn from the world, and build trust. If you adopt these habits, you will not only perform better, you will also grow others around you. That is the real measure of thinking like a leader. Creating more thinking, action, and growth in the people you touch. Keep this guide as a daily checklist in your mind, not as a rigid test, but as a companion. Purpose first, systems in view, plan ahead, act with clarity, accept responsibility, manage emotions, seek feedback, stay curious, be humble, decide and adjust. Focus on priorities, care for people, communicate clearly, protect attention, show courage, keep integrity. Design systems for others, learn constantly, balance thought and action, build influence, mind timing, prepare for resilience, set boundaries, practice empathy, invest in relationships, avoid perfection, be open about trade-offs, act fairly, guard reputation, simplify where possible, reflect, ask good questions, run small experiments, match ambition with patience, and know yourself. These are not rules to memorize. They are patterns to practice. The skill of leadership thinking is the work of a lifetime. It grows when you apply it and weakens when you ignore it. Start now. Each day, notice one decision and ask, did I act like a leader in that moment? If not, what would a leader do differently? If yes, what did I learn? That small habit of daily review will shape a stronger mind and a truer path. In the end, thinking like a leader is less about a title and more about being the kind of person others can count on when the stakes are real. That kind of thinking changes not only projects, but people. And that is the truest form of leadership.